"You mad, is it? Your salary here won't even cover a family, la." The words cut, sharp and direct, echoing off the sterile hospital break room walls in Singapore. Dr. Ahmad, a Syrian refugee physician, felt the familiar prickle of frustration, but his gaze, fixed on his friend, held no trace of wavering. He was bringing his family here, all 6 of them, his wife, 3 children, his elderly mother, and his younger brother. It was a decision that defied logic. A financial Everest his friend, also a Syrian he'd known from Germany, simply couldn't fathom. 3 months. That's all Ahmad had been in Singapore. 3 months. And you haven't even wrapped your head around the healthcare system here. Not properly. But that was precisely it, Ahmad thought, a grim understanding tightening his jaw. Because he had wrapped his head around it, and it was the terrifying clarity of that realization that made the impossible decision the only one. His journey to this small island nation, thousands of miles from the constant terror of home, had been a blur of desperation and dwindling hope. 6 years he'd spent in flight, a fully qualified surgeon from Aleppo, reduced to odd jobs in overcrowded refugee camps, his Syrian medical degree a worthless piece of paper in the eyes of the world. In the winter of 2019, carrying little more than a worn backpack and the crushing weight of his family's fate, he landed in Singapore. He was part of a government medical training program, a glimmer of light for healthcare professionals displaced by conflict. His initial ambition had been modest, almost shameful in its simplicity. Secure a foothold, save enough money, then maybe, just maybe, retrieve his wife and 3 young children from the refugee camp in Jordan, where they languished. But reality, as always, had a cruel way of redefining expectations. The initial weeks were a brutal immersion. The Singaporean medical licensing exams, delivered entirely in English, were a mountainous challenge for an Arabic native speaker. Every day began at 4 in the morning, 2 grueling hours dedicated to memorizing complex medical terminology, words that felt alien on his tongue. Then came the demanding hospital shifts, followed by more studying deep into the night. His notebooks became a testament to his struggle. Dense pages of English, scrolled alongside frantic Arabic annotations for pronunciation and meaning. He remembered spending an entire night, countless repetitions, just to accurately write myocardial infarction. It was a constant, exhausting battle against the limitations of language and the ever-present ache of separation. Dr. Lim, one of the senior doctors at the hospital, recalled Ahmad's early days. There was an English-speaking patient in the outpatient clinic, a rare occurrence that had most local doctors shying away, citing communication issues. But Ahmad stepped forward. "Doctor." Lim watched, fascinated, as the Syrian doctor meticulously examined the patient, using hand gestures and rough sketches to bridge the linguistic gap, patiently reconfirming every detail of the treatment plan. Later, Lim asked him why he was so meticulous. Ahmad's laugh was hollow. "Because in my country," he'd explained, the memory etched into his face, "we had no luxury of resources, no advanced equipment. Every diagnosis had to be precise, or lives would be lost." Lim later learned that Ahmad had been a trauma surgeon, performing hundreds of procedures a month in one of Aleppo's largest hospitals before the bombs reduced it to rubble. His colleagues were scattered, dead or disappeared. He had fled with his family to Turkey, then they had moved to Jordan, before he made the solo, terrifying leap to Singapore. Singapore itself presented a jarring parade of cultural quirks. He recalled his first visit to a local supermarket. The cashier, a friendly young girl, simply asked, "Anything else, sir?" He'd nodded politely, thinking she was making small talk, unsure how to reply to what felt like a personal query. He soon learned it was just standard customer service, efficient and direct, devoid of the emotional nuances he was accustomed to. Then there was the bus. Seeing the clearly marked priority seats, he'd mistakenly assumed they were for, well, important people, maybe even visitors. He took one, only to be met with a pointed stare from an elderly auntie, who then began muttering under her breath in Hokkien, her disapproval radiating through the packed bus. He didn't understand the words, but the message was universally clear. He had transgressed some unspoken rule. But the biggest, most unsettling truth he encountered was Singapore's integrated healthcare system. One afternoon, a delivery rider came in, having sustained a minor fall from his motorbike. Nothing life-threatening, an X-ray, some bandages, a tetanus jab. Ahmad watched, astonished, as the rider settled his bill for a paltry sum, a mere few Singapore dollars. He checked the receipt, then checked again, convinced a zero must be missing. "Is it really this cheap?" he'd asked the nurse, in his still developing English. She'd smiled. "Yes, la, with your MediSave card. That's the price." Ahmad stood frozen, the implications of her casual statement reverberating through him. In Syria, such treatment would have devoured a month's wages. In the Jordan camp, a simple injury might get a basic dressing. X-rays a distant, impossible dream. Here, a common delivery rider received comprehensive, affordable care. That night, the video call to his wife felt heavier than usual. Her face, etched with exhaustion, appeared on the screen. The flimsy tent of the refugee camp visible behind her, the distant wails of children, a constant soundtrack to their lives. Their youngest son had a fever again. The clinic had run out of medication, the next supply not due until the following week. Ahmad's heart twisted, a sharp, familiar pain. "Just wait," he whispered, though the words felt hollow, inadequate. "Just give me a little more time." His wife didn't complain. She simply looked at him, her eyes tired but full of an ancient strength, and said softly, "I know you are working hard. We are all waiting." He hung up, plunging his room into darkness, the vibrant, indifferent lights of Singapore's HDB flats outside his window, a stark contrast to the bombed-out shell of his 3-story house in Syria. The jasmine and rose bushes long gone, the courtyard where his children once played football, now dust. The next day, a deep-seated urgency propelled him to the hospital's social worker. He wanted details, specifics. What would it take? How much would it cost to bring his family here? The social worker, a kind but pragmatic woman, laid out a daunting stack of papers: visa categories, residency requirements, financial guarantees. Looking at the dense legal jargon, Ahmad felt a familiar despair creep in. "With your current salary," she said gently, "supporting 7 people in Singapore will be very difficult." He pushed back, desperation fueling his voice. "I can take more shifts. I can translate." She shook her head. "Our medical regulations are strict, doctor. Resident doctors cannot easily take on extra jobs. And you're still in your adaptation period. Your workload is already heavy." In that moment, he felt utterly powerless. He had escaped the war, learned a new language, passed arduous exams, yet still, his family remained beyond his reach. Then, the unexpected. Singapore, a nation largely untouched by natural disasters, experienced a sudden, unprecedented crisis. It wasn't an earthquake, but a massive pileup on the Pan Island Expressway, a chain reaction of collisions involving dozens of vehicles. The accident was horrific, triggering an immediate, overwhelming response. Ahmad was on duty. The hospital's emergency department was swamped, stretched beyond its limits. Amidst the chaos of alarms and frantic patients, Ahmad moved with a quiet, practiced calm, reassuring patience, assisting nurses in coordinating the influx of casualties. He worked 16 hours straight, a blur of critical decisions and precise actions. An elderly man, trapped in his car, had sustained a severe leg fracture and needed immediate surgery. The on-call orthopedic surgeon was stuck in the massive traffic gridlock, hours away. "I can do this surgery," Ahmad declared, his voice firm. The nurse hesitated. "But you've only been here 3 months, doctor." His gaze was unwavering. "I have performed hundreds of similar procedures in Syria, trust me." With the reluctant assistance of another senior doctor, Ahmad performed the complex surgery flawlessly. The grateful family of the old man, weeping with relief, showered him with thanks. The story spread through the hospital like wildfire. Slowly, tentatively, his colleagues, who had kept a polite distance, began to truly accept him. Dr. Lim clapped him on the shoulder, a rare, genuine smile on his face. "You're a good doctor, Ahmad. We're glad you came to Singapore." The true shift, though, came from a small, seemingly insignificant conversation. One lunchtime, in the bustling hospital canteen, he overheard a group of nurses chatting. A young nurse complained about her mother pressuring her to marry at 28. Another laughed. "Ayo, who gets married so early nowadays? I only had my first kid at 35, still perfectly fine, what?" A third chimed in. "Exactly. And even if you want kids, Singapore's healthcare is so good, maternity care is top-notch. No worries, la." Ahmad listened, a profound, almost painful realization blossoming within him. Here, in Singapore, young people had the luxury of choice, of planning their futures, of delaying marriage and childbirth, because they lived in a society with robust healthcare and a stable environment. His wife, meanwhile, languished in a refugee camp, devoid of even basic medical care, their children's fevers managed with prayer and fading hope. That evening, the decision solidified. He began a frantic, obsessive deep dive into Singapore's residency policies, education system, and social welfare programs. He discovered that while Singapore wasn't a traditional immigration country, it did have specific pathways for refugees and skilled professionals. He found other Syrians online, connecting with them through shared desperation and hope. One, an engineer named Yusuf, had been in Singapore for 5 years and had successfully brought his wife and children over. It was really tough at first, Yusuf admitted during a video call, his voice tinged with the memory. Language, food, the kids struggling in school. But you know what? Singaporeans are genuinely kind. Our neighbors, when they found out we were refugees, they didn't stare or shun us. They helped my wife learn how to take the MRT, how to navigate the wet markets. Ahmad pressed him on the finances. Initially very tight. But the cost of living here is still better than places like Europe or America. And public schools are cheap, got nutritious meals. Most important, of course, is the healthcare. With MediSave, you don't need to worry about the bills when you go to the clinic. Yusuf paused, a catch in his voice. My wife, she was pregnant last year. From antenatal to delivery, everything was smooth. In Syria with our first, she almost died. Even now, she still has nightmares. But here, the nurses, doctors, they took such good care of her. She said she finally knew what it felt like to feel safe. That conversation ignited a fire of resolve in Ahmad. In the weeks that followed, he meticulously crafted a detailed plan. First, save for the astronomical airfares. Then, find a larger apartment, enroll the children in school. Ensure his wife had basic English lessons lined up. Every night, his notebook filled with checklists. Each item a step closer to his dream. Each tick a silent victory. His hospital colleagues, having heard of his audacious plan, rallied around him. Dr. Lim introduced him to a non-profit organization dedicated to helping new immigrants. The head nurse, a formidable woman with a heart of gold, researched schools in the area. Even the auntie who ran the hospital canteen offered to teach his wife how to cook local dishes. This is how Singaporeans are, Dr. Lim had said, a gentle smile on his face. We might not say fancy things, but we show up when it matters. Ahmad felt a warmth spread through him, a feeling he hadn't experienced even during his year in Australia, where despite excellent welfare, he had always felt like an outsider. In Singapore, despite the linguistic and cultural hurdles, a nascent sense of belonging began to take root. 3 months later, Ahmad passed his final assessments, officially becoming a staff doctor. His salary increased, his position more secure. That evening, he dialed his wife's number. "I'm ready," he choked out, his voice trembling with a mixture of relief and raw emotion. "Give me 5 years, maybe less. I'm bringing all of you here." There was a long silence on the other end, then a sudden burst of joyous sobs. "Really? Is it really possible?" she whispered, disbelief thick in her voice. "Yes, I promise," Ahmad affirmed, his conviction absolute. "Singapore is a good place. The people are friendly, the healthcare is advanced, the education is good. The children can grow up safe here. No bombs, no fear." His wife hesitated. "But we heard. Singapore is small and not as rich as America or Europe." Ahmad chuckled, a genuine, unburdened sound. "Those are misconceptions, my love. Singapore might not be huge, but it has everything. The convenience stores are open 24 hours. You can find one just a few steps away. The MRT is so efficient, you don't have to worry about traffic getting stuck. And the food? Oh, the food. So diverse. All sorts of hawker stalls and restaurants. Even more choices than Syria," he continued, the words tumbling out, painting a picture of a life she could barely imagine. "Most importantly, the healthcare. We have universal healthcare here. Whether it's a simple cough or a surgery, no one gets turned away because they can't pay. Mother's diabetes medication will be so affordable, not like in Jordan where it costs a fortune. And your brother's asthma, they have the best treatment options here." His wife finally laughed, a sound full of light and hope. "It truly sounds wonderful," she said. "When you all arrive, I'll take you to Gardens by the Bay. We'll see the super trees and eat all the delicious satay at Lau Pa Sat," Ahmad excitedly promised. "Oh, and the fruits here are amazing. Mangoes, pineapples, papayas. You will absolutely love them." He hung up, walking to his window, gazing at the glittering Singapore skyline. The distant hum of the city was a lullaby compared to the echoes of war. He thought of his first apprehensive days in this country, the nights spent memorizing vocabulary until dawn, the pang of pain each time his family called. Now, all that was about to change. He was finally going to give them a real home. The next morning, Ahmad felt a lightness in his step. During ward rounds, He saw the elderly man whose leg he had operated on, now able to walk with assistance. The old man grasped his hand, mumbling a string of Hokkien phrases. Ahmad didn't understand the words, but the gratitude in his eyes was unmistakable. The nurse translated, a smile playing on her lips. He says you're a great doctor, and he wants to introduce you to his granddaughter. Ahmad quickly waved his hands, laughing. Oh no, I'm married, and I have 3 children. The nurse's eyes widened. Wah, your wife must miss you a lot, right? Yes, Ahmad said, the smile softening. We've been apart for over 2 years, but we'll be reunited soon. I'm bringing her and the children here. Really? She exclaimed, delighted. That's fantastic. If the children need help with school, my daughter is a primary school teacher. She can help you find a good school. They're very welcoming to new immigrant children. Ahmad's gratitude was profound. Thank you, truly. Thank you so much. Later, during his lunch break, Ahmad walked to the small mosque near the hospital. Though the Muslim community in Singapore was diverse, they functioned like a close-knit family. Several Indonesian caregivers, a Malaysian student, all gathered for Friday prayers. Brother, I heard you're bringing your family, an Indonesian man said, clapping him on the shoulder after prayers. Yes, God willing, everything is looking up, Ahmad replied, a radiant smile on his face. You need to prepare properly, lah, the Malaysian student chimed in. 7 people is no joke. But Singapore's cost of living is quite reasonable, not like Hong Kong or London. And the public services are excellent. You don't need to spend too much. Ahmad nodded. I'm still amazed by the healthcare system. In Europe, they have universal healthcare too, but the waiting times are ridiculous. Sometimes you wait months for a specialist appointment. Here, you just register and see a doctor. So efficient. The Indonesian man agreed. I've been working here for 5 years, caring for an old man who's been sick a few times. Every time we went to the hospital, they handled it so quickly and well. Unlike in my country, where the rich go to private hospitals and the poor just have to wait. After prayers, they headed to a nearby hawker center for lunch. The auntie running the stall, recognizing Ahmad, greeted him warmly. Doctor, what you eating today? Same thing, auntie. Beef noodles with spring onions. He was already a regular. Sitting down, the Malaysian student asked, when your family comes, will they adapt to Singaporean food? Ahmad chuckled. Should be fine, I think. Singapore has so many food choices, and there are a few halal places here. My wife is also a good cook, and the supermarkets here have everything. That's good, the Indonesian man said. It always takes time to adapt. When I first came, the thing I wasn't used to was how Singaporeans like sweet meat, like sweet and sour pork. Back home, our meat is always savory or spicy. Everyone laughed. In the afternoon clinic, Ahmad saw a 7-year-old girl with a fever. Her mother was visibly anxious, constantly asking if it was serious, if she needed to be admitted. Doctor, is it really nothing big? Does she need to be warded? The mother's voice trembled. Ahmad carefully examined the child. Don't worry, it's just a common cold, a bit of a sore throat. I'll prescribe some medicine. Go home, drink plenty of water, and get some rest. The mother still looked unconvinced. No need for blood tests? No x-ray? Ahmad gently shook his head. No need for those tests for now. Over-treating can sometimes be worse for a child. The mother finally relaxed. Doctor, your English is so good. Where are you from? I'm from Syria, Ahmad replied. Oh my goodness, isn't there a war there? How did you end up in Singapore? The mother asked. Her curiosity piqued. Ahmad briefly recounted his story. The mother sighed. You're so amazing, escaping war and still becoming a doctor here. My husband always talks about migrating to America, but I always felt Singapore was good enough. Hearing you, I'm even more convinced Singapore is really fantastic. Ahmad nodded sincerely. Indeed, Singapore is a wonderful place to live. I've been to many countries, and the quality of healthcare here is truly world-class, and it's affordable. That combination is very rare. After the patient left, Nurse May, a young Singaporean nurse, walked over. Dr. Ahmad, you know, sometimes we Singaporeans are so used to our blessings that we don't even see them. We always think the grass is greener on the other side. But Singapore is truly good. We just take it for granted, right? Yes, Ahmad agreed. Something like this universal healthcare system would be impossible in many countries. I have a friend in America. He had his appendix removed last year, and the medical bills alone were tens of thousands of US dollars, and his insurance didn't even cover all of it. Here, the same surgery might cost a few thousand Singapore dollars. May nodded. My cousin works in London. He says he earns a lot more there, but the cost of living is crazy high, and the work pressure is immense. Compared to that, our salaries here might not be the highest, but the quality of life is really good. After his afternoon clinic, Ahmad drove to the Immigration and Checkpoints Authority, ICA building. This was it, the most critical step in the entire process. He was submitting his family's application. The civil servant behind the counter, a stern-looking man, meticulously reviewed all his documents. "All your documents are in order," he stated, his voice flat. "The next step is for the application to be processed. It should take approximately 2 to 3 months for approval." Ahmad's heart pounded. "Will there be any problems?" he asked, his voice tight with anxiety. "Theoretically, no. You have stable employment, a good income, and you meet all the criteria. It's just a procedural matter, coordinating between various departments, so it takes time." The civil servant then looked up, a rare, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. "You are a doctor, aren't you? We welcome professionals like you here." "Thank you. Truly thank you," Ahmad said, bowing slightly. As he walked out of the ICA building, a torrent of conflicting emotions swept over him. Excitement, trepidation, anticipation, and a lingering fear. What if they were rejected? What if his family didn't adapt? What if he couldn't provide the life he had so desperately promised? But these thoughts were quickly interrupted by his phone. It was Dr. Lim. "Ahmad, are you free tomorrow afternoon? The hospital is holding a lecture, and we'd like you to share your experiences practicing medicine in a war zone." Ahmad hesitated. "My English might not be good enough for a lecture." "It's fine. You can speak in English," Lim reassured him. "We'll arrange for a translator. It would be very educational for our younger doctors to understand medical decision-making in resource-scarce environments." "All right," Ahmad agreed. "I'll try my best." The following afternoon, the hospital auditorium was packed. Not just doctors and nurses, but interns and medical students filled every seat. Ahmad stood on the podium, looking out at dozens of eager faces, and took a deep breath. "Hello, everyone. I am Ahmad. From Syria," he began, his English hesitant but clear. Then, he seamlessly switched to more fluent English, his voice gaining confidence. "Today, I don't want to talk about advanced medical techniques. Instead, I want to share how we persevered as doctors in the most extreme circumstances." He recounted his harrowing experiences during the Syrian civil war. Hospitals bombed, critical drug shortages, unstable electricity that often forced them to perform surgeries by candlelight. He spoke of one incident when a young boy, hit by shrapnel, was losing blood rapidly, but the blood bank was empty. In a desperate act of solidarity, the hospital staff, doctors and nurses alike, donated their own blood to save the child's life. A hushed silence fell over the auditorium, some nurses discreetly wiping away tears. In those conditions, we learned to truly value every single pill, every piece of gauze, every drop of blood, Ahmad said, his voice raw with memory. "Coming to Singapore, I see such abundant medical resources, and it fills me with so much emotion. But at the same time, I also realize that sometimes we rely too heavily on tests and expensive equipment, neglecting the fundamental importance of thorough patient history and physical examination." He gave an example. A patient who came in with chest pain. Ahmad, after a detailed history and physical, diagnosed a muscle strain, but the young doctor in charge insisted on a chest X-ray, an electrocardiogram, blood tests for cardiac enzymes. All results came back normal, confirming the initial diagnosis of muscle strain. "I am not saying tests are unimportant," Ahmad stressed, "but we must first rely on our clinical judgment to decide what tests are truly necessary. In places with limited resources, that kind of judgment can literally mean the difference between who lives and who dies." After the lecture, several young doctors crowded around him, asking questions. One intern asked, "Doctor, Ahmad, how did you maintain your passion for medicine in such difficult circumstances?" Ahmad paused, considering. "Because I remembered why I became a doctor in the first place. Not for money, not for fame, but because people needed help. When you see a life saved because of your actions, that feeling is irreplaceable." Another doctor asked, "Why did you choose to come to Singapore instead of Europe or America?" Ahmad smiled, a knowing glint in his eye. "Initially, I thought of Europe or America, because everyone says they are more advanced. But then I realized that medical advancement isn't just about equipment. It's about the system and its humanity. Singapore's healthcare system ensures everyone can afford treatment, which is something many countries cannot achieve. And Singaporeans are genuinely kind. Even when I struggled with the language, everyone was willing to help. In Europe, I always felt like an outsider. But in Singapore, slowly, I started to feel a sense of home. Dr. Lim, who had been listening from the side, patted him on the shoulder. "You're right, Ahmad. Singapore might not be the richest place, but it's definitely one of the most heartwarming." That night, back in his hostel room, Ahmad opened his laptop and began searching for apartments. He needed at least a 3-bedroom flat, ideally close to the hospital for his commute and for the children's school. Singapore's housing market was competitive, but he was determined. He meticulously calculated his monthly income and expenses: rent, utilities, food, transport, the children's school fees, his mother and brother's living costs. Every single cent had to be accounted for. Just then, his phone rang. It was his wife, a video call. "We received good news," she exclaimed, her voice bubbling with excitement. "The UNHCR says our case has progressed. The Singaporean government has approved our resettlement." Ahmad couldn't believe his ears. "Really? So fast?" "Yes," she replied, her eyes crinkling with joy. "They said because you have stable employment in Singapore and you're a medical professional, our case was prioritized." The children, hearing the news, crowded around the camera, their faces alight with curiosity. His eldest son, 12, asked, "Papa, does Singapore have football fields?" His daughter, 10, wondered, "Are the schools in Singapore very difficult?" And his youngest, only 6, innocently asked, "Does Singapore have lollipops?" Ahmad answered each question, his voice thick with emotion. "Yes, Singapore had sports fields everywhere. He could play football. No, the schools weren't too difficult, and the teachers were good. Lollipops? Of course, the supermarkets had so many kinds." After almost an hour, he hung up, only to realize that tears were streaming down his face. Tears of pure, unadulterated joy, the release of years of pent-up fear and longing. Over the next few months, Ahmad worked relentlessly. Hospital shifts during the day, mountains of paperwork at night, house hunting on weekends, and learning the intricacies of managing a large family's life in a new country. He found a comfortable 3-bedroom apartment, not huge, but cozy. The landlady, a retired teacher, moved by his story, voluntarily reduced the rent. "Young man," she said, her voice warm, "to save your family from a war zone, that is truly remarkable. I'm not short on money. It's more important for your family to live well." Ahmad was deeply moved. His colleagues continued their unwavering support. Some donated furniture, others gave clothes and toys. The head nurse even organized a welcome party, a surprise for his family's arrival. "We're all family, what?" she'd said with a laugh. "You take care of our patients. We help you settle. Isn't that normal?" Dr. Lim helped him connect with nearby primary and secondary schools and found an Arabic-speaking volunteer to help the children adapt. "Education is paramount, Ahmad. The children must study well," Lim stressed. Singapore's education system is competitive, but they are very supportive of new immigrant children, offering extra tuition. Ahmad asked about the language barrier. "They only speak Arabic and a little English now." "Don't worry, kids pick up languages quickly," Lim assured him. "I have a friend whose children came back from Japan. Their English wasn't great initially, but they caught up in 6 months. And the schools have special English language programs just for foreign students. Singapore truly values education." Ahmad Sig, a deep, contented sound. In the Jordan refugee camp, the children were lucky to even attend school. Quality education was simply not an option. "So, you made the right decision, Ahmad," Lim said, patting his back. "In Singapore, at least your children have a chance to receive a full education, to choose their own futures." Finally, on a crisp autumn morning, Ahmad received the call from the ICA. "Congratulations, your application has been approved. Your family can come to Singapore." Ahmad's heart leaped. He immediately called his wife, but she didn't pick up. He then called the UNHCR contact to confirm all the details. "They can depart next month," the contact informed him. "We will assist with purchasing the tickets and arranging transit. All costs will be covered by the Refugee Relief Fund." "This is wonderful, truly wonderful," Ahmad kept repeating. He rushed to Dr. Lim's office. "Dr. Lim, it's approved. My family can come to Singapore." Lim stood up and gave him a big hug. "Congratulations, Ahmad. You deserve this." The news spread like wildfire throughout the hospital. During lunch, colleagues flocked to him, offering congratulations. some insisting on treating him to a celebratory meal, others promising to teach his wife how to cook local dishes. The nurses said they'd take the children to Sentosa when they arrived. "When they get here, we must give them a proper welcome," May exclaimed. "My mother said she'll make them tanyuan. It symbolizes reunion." Ahmad's eyes welled up again. "Thank you, everyone. Really, thank you." That night, Ahmad packed his belongings in his hostel room, preparing to move to the newly rented apartment. He found an old photo album, pictures of his younger self in Syria, in a crisp white lab coat, standing proudly outside the hospital. His wedding day, he and his wife beaming, unaware of the unimaginable hardships that lay ahead. Photos of his children as babies, tiny, wrinkled bundles. Now they were grown, his eldest almost a teenager. He carefully taped the photographs onto the wall of his new apartment. This would be their first home in Singapore. It had a living room, a kitchen, a balcony for drying clothes, but most importantly, it was a safe place. No bombs, no gunfire, just the mundane, precious rhythm of everyday life. A month later, in the dead of night, Ahmad drove to Changi Airport. Dr. Lim and a few colleagues insisted on accompanying him. "This is a major life event, Ahmad. Can't let you go alone," Lim joked, though his eyes were serious. "What if you get too emotional? We need to be there to support you." The plane landed on schedule. Ahmad stood in the arrival hall, his palms sweating, his heart a frantic drumbeat against his ribs. He scanned the exit, his body trembling with anticipation. Finally, he saw them. His wife, pushing a luggage trolley, followed by his 3 children, his mother, and his younger brother. 6 weary but excited faces emerged into the light. The moment his wife saw him, she froze, then dropped the trolley and ran. They embraced, tears streaming down both their faces. 3 long years, 3 years of separation, of fear, of unspoken longing. Finally, they were together. The children swarmed them, hugging their father's legs, calling out, "Papa, Papa." His mother and brother stood nearby, their eyes also red with emotion. "Welcome to Singapore," Ahmad choked out. "Welcome home, Doctor." Lim and his colleagues stood watching, silently wiping away their own tears. Some moments needed no words. The raw, universal emotion spoke volumes. On the drive back to the apartment, the children gazed out the car windows, captivated by Singapore's brightly lit streets. Even in the dead of night, the convenience stores glowed. The occasional scooter whirred past. "Daddy, it's so beautiful here," his youngest son whispered. "This is our new home," Ahmad said, his voice brimming with a quiet certainty. "From today, we don't have to be afraid. We don't have to worry. We can truly live." His wife squeezed his hand, her gaze locked on his. "Thank you. Thank you for never giving up." "How could I ever give up?" Ahmad replied, his eyes reflecting the city lights. "You are my entire world." As the car pulled up to their apartment building in Singapore, his mother gasped, looking up at the multi-story structure. "It really has a lift," she marveled. In the Jordan camp, they had lived in makeshift tents, with scarce, rationed water. Now, they had a real home. Ahmad unlocked the door, and everyone gasped. Although he had furnished the apartment, his colleagues had secretly added so much more. The refrigerator was stocked with food. A fruit basket sat on the coffee table, and a hand-painted banner proclaiming, "Welcome home," adorned the wall. Ahmad was speechless. "We just wanted you all to feel warm," Dr. Lim said, smiling. "This is the Singaporean way. We might not say pretty things, but our hearts are all in here." His wife's tears started again. In Arabic, she turned to Ahmad and said, "You were right. The people here are truly good." Over the next few weeks, the family began the arduous but joyful process of building a new life. His wife diligently started English lessons, poring over textbooks daily. The children enrolled in school, and despite the language barrier, their classmates were friendly, communicating through gestures and drawings. His eldest son joined the school football team, the coach taking a special interest, teaching him simple English phrases. His daughter developed a passion for art, her colorful drawings proudly displayed on the classroom wall. The youngest, as expected, adapted the fastest. Within a month, he was speaking simple English and had even picked up some local Singlish phrases. His mother's diabetes was finally well controlled. Ahmad took her to an endocrinologist, who meticulously explained her medication regimen and dietary adjustments. "I've never been treated so seriously before," his mother murmured, tears in her eyes. His younger brother found a job at a convenience store. The pay wasn't high, but it was stable. "At least it's a stable job," he often said, a quiet contentment in his voice. I don't have to worry about tomorrow anymore. Their favorite family activity quickly became their weekend trips to the hawker centers. The first time, the children's eyes widened at the dizzying array of sights and smells. Ahmad bought satay, laksa, fried carrot cake, and colorful ice kachang. The family walked, ate, and laughed, utterly blissful. "This laksa is so weird, Papa," his daughter exclaimed, wrinkling her nose at the spicy, fragrant broth. "It smells so strong, but it tastes so good." "Yes, Singapore has many unique foods," Ahmad said, smiling. "Slowly, you'll grow to love it here." His wife squeezed his hand amidst the bustling crowd of the hawker center. "Thank you for bringing us here," she murmured, her voice soft. "This is so much better than I ever imagined." "This is just the beginning," Ahmad replied, his gaze sweeping over his happy family. "There's still a long road ahead, but at least now, we are safe. We are together." 6 months later, Ahmad was interviewed by a local television station. The reporter asked him if he regretted coming to Singapore. Ahmad shook his head decisively. "Not at all. Singapore has given my family a new life, a new hope. It may not be the wealthiest place, but it is certainly one of the most human." The reporter then asked for his advice to other refugees contemplating coming to Singapore. "Be mentally prepared," Ahmad counseled, his voice steady. "Adaptation takes time. Language is a challenge, and cultural differences need to be understood slowly. But if you are willing to work hard and willing to integrate, Singapore will absolutely embrace you." He paused, his gaze thoughtful. "Most importantly, always remember to be grateful, to give back to society. I now work not just for money, but to repay this land for everything it has given me." After the program aired, Ahmad received countless messages. Some were from refugees in other countries, asking how they could apply to come to Singapore. Others were from Singaporeans expressing their support and encouragement. An entrepreneur even called, offering to sponsor his brother's university fees so he could pursue higher education. "We simply did what was right," the entrepreneur said over the phone. "Singapore needs more people like you, professionals with integrity, responsibility, and gratitude." Now, whenever Ahmad walked through the hospital corridors, seeing the trusting eyes of his patients, he often thought back to that desperate decision he had made in the quiet of his hostel room. That promise he had whispered to his wife over the phone in the dead of night. "Give me 5 years. I will bring my family here." He had done it in less than 2, and it was all thanks to Singapore, its kind people, and this small, warm community that had opened its heart to a stranger. Standing by the Singapore waterfront, Ahmad watched the sun dip below the horizon. Around him, his children played, their laughter echoing against the vast expanse of the ocean. His wife smiled beside him. His mother sat peacefully nearby. The sea breeze carried the scent of salt, but also the intoxicating fragrance of hope. "Daddy, can we come to the waterfront again tomorrow?" his youngest son asked, tugging at his hand. "Of course," Ahmad replied, his voice soft with emotion. "As many times as you want. Because this is our home." In his heart, Syria would forever be his homeland, the roots of his past. But Singapore, this resilient island on the edge of the Pacific, had given him and his family a new beginning, a new horizon. Here, there was no war, no fear, just the ordinary, fragile beauty of everyday life. And in the quiet moments, a different kind of truth began to settle. That home, once shattered, could indeed be rebuilt, piece by arduous piece, even if the echoes of what was lost would forever linger.